So anyways, the next match we had here was Thunder Rosa, which is the current AEW Women's Champ, going up against Toni Storm. And this is like the whole, AEW, New Japan Pro Wrestling crossover. They do, they kind of lean towards Toni Storm's history with Stardom and stuff like that to kind of get that going and everything. But, yeah, it's a pretty good match. The only thing I kind of find was that I kind of find that Thunder Rosa was a little too dominant. So I would have liked, more close calls and stuff. I think there was only one time where Tony actually got her in a DDT, and it looked kind of like so-so, because it's kind of like Thunder Rosa did all this shit to her, and she's, dazed and, can barely stand or whatever, and she does one of those, off-rope DDTs on Thunder Rosa, which is one of her few offenses during the match, and now Thunder Rosa suddenly all dazed and stuff, so you can have the thing where both competitors are in bad shape, but it's like, yeah, we needed to see her do, more things on her and everything. And I also believe Toni Storm got her shoulder kind of messed up, because there was a part where she was actually in a perfect position to just grab Thunder Rosa in the Storm Zero, but her shoulder gave out, so she couldn't get her quite up there. And Rosa get her. She basically slammed her, which I believe is called the Final Reckoning, and that basically ended the match. And she won, and since they're still buddies and stuff, she shook hands with respect and everything. So Thunder Rosa retained, and yeah, it's a good match. I was entertained, here and there, but I was expecting, more offense from Toni Storm. I was expecting, because you got to have those moments, right? That when Rosa's down and in very bad shape, and all these super close calls, and all these moments that you're like, oh shit, okay, this is it. This is when, like it's over. Like have her actually nail the Storm Zero, and you're thinking this is it. And then she does a surprise kick out, and the match goes on for another 2-3 minutes, that kind of thing. But I don't know. I just felt like considering Toni Storm and, her build up, her character, it's just not a jobber character. There's like a more bigger character. She should have given Thunder Rosa more of a fight of her money. Given her more a fight for her money, and yeah. So I mean, decent match. It's just I don't know. I just felt there should have been more resistance there. Thunder Rosa, obviously, she's the champ. She's badass. Obviously, you want her to be dominant. She could have had her thing where she's dominant near the beginning, but then that one thing happens that now gives Tony the advantage or something. I just felt it should have been a bit more even now between the two of them and stuff. But those are my general thoughts. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. There was not a good power shift in that whole match. It seemed like it was one-sided. And then all of a sudden, Toni Storm nails Thunder Rosa with a move, and then it's almost like she's been whooping her ass for 5 minutes straight. I didn't understand how could that happen all of a sudden, but was still a okay match. When it was over, they shook hands. Thunder Rosa beat her with this suplex that looks like something that Dustin Rhodes would have done back in the day. It looked like an old Dustin Rhodes style suplex, but was still a pretty decent match. But they could have done better with the storytelling. All in all, it was all right.
Yeah, I thought it was a okay match as well. I mean, it was good, but it was just kind of I don't know if the story Tony was great. It's a great match, but it's just I don't know if it's enough for it to be on the pay-per-view. But I'm so glad that Thunder Rosa still won the match. She's very good. She's very talented, and they're professional about it. So she still shook hands with Toni Storm and all that. It's just that it felt I don't know, the match could have been a little bit more.
Yeah, the thing is, it just kind of hurts her stock, because then if she goes to chance against, let's say, Jade Cargill and stuff, it's you know what I mean? This is the person that's supposed to take it to the champ. It's those people that you kind of feel if someone's going to take the champ down, it's going to be someone like Toni Storm, and then you get kind of a match like this,
Next was the surprisingly really good but kind of short match between Thunder Rosa and Toni Storm for the AEW World Women's Championship. And these are two of my favorite female wrestlers in the States, and it didn't disappoint, but it also didn't overwhelm me as well. I'm hoping that they'll fight again. But this was definitely Rosa's hardest hitting match since being on AEW, and she more than deserved retaining the title. I'm hoping to see Toni Storm maybe go after Jade Cargill's title. That would be a really cool change of pace, and because I'm kind of getting sick of Jade Cargill, to be honest.
So all of us went for Thunder Rosa. No one gave Toni Storm the benefit of the doubt or anything. So all of us get a point. Since Jack hasn't gotten one that we haven't gotten yet, he's still behind. So uh-oh. And we don't have that many matches left. So uh-oh. So let's see here. So the next match we have here, singles match for the IWGP United States Heavyweight Championship, which, as you guys notice, almost all the matches here are for championship titles. Even that three-way tag team match was actually for 2 titles, so holy shit. Basically, it's the ever-popular bank account check-in Will Ospreay going up against Orange Cassidy. And, what can I say? It's basically what I was kind of expecting. Because, Orange Cassidy is the kind of guy you wouldn't expect much from him and blah, 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 blah. But then when he can go, he can actually go. So during this match, he actually, did go and all that. I did like the beginning because obviously in the beginning he's doing the whole play on the shades and putting his hand in his pockets. And Will Ospreay's looking at him like really? Like this guy here is supposed to be my opponent? Like what the fuck, man? And everything. But then, of course, Cassidy turns on the juice, pun intended. And, lots of flipping around, lots of good moves, lots of quick maneuvers, a couple of close calls where we actually thought that, holy shit, Orange Cassidy is actually going to win this thing. The thing I remember the most is I believe there was a part where Will Ospreay was on his knees and Orange Cassidy actually tried to do like his version of the thing where Bryanson would kick him in the face a lot, whatever. But of course, it was those weird little fake kicks that Orange Cassidy does and stuff with Will Ospreay just looking like, dude, you fucking serious? Which I kind of noticed. There were a lot of times in this entire pay-per-view where the guys were kind of like, dude, what are you doing? Like Sting with his nipples or Miro with the chops and stuff. So now it's like Ospreay doing that. And so in the end, Will Ospreay actually beat him. And I was like, it was very close there. I was kind of like thinking, because I believe Orange Cassidy was trying to get him with the orange punch, and that looked like that would have got him. Yeah, there was actually a part I believe where he was trying to do his orange punch, but Cassidy actually caught him with a cutter, with a diving cutter, if you want to call it that. Hint, hint. And he went for a Stormbreaker, but Cassidy actually countered that with a Frankensteiner and tried to do another pin, and that was like another big moment, But we thought that that he was gonna win. But Ospreay actually grabbed him. This time he actually did do the Stormbreaker, and he won. He retained the title. He is still the champ, and we saved ourselves from Jack Knives' wrath if Orange Cassidy actually won that one.
Thank God.
Those rants would have been legendary.
Oh yeah, Jack Knives would definitely lost his shit on that one. But as I did say in the previous podcast, he was going to make it. Ospreay was definitely going to make it so that Orange Cassidy actually had to go full flux, which we haven't seen since Pac. So, yeah, I definitely called it on that one. He was going to have to go full freaking speed just to even go neck to neck with Ospreay. Now, he did have a couple of his lazy moments, which are all fine and good. But yeah, he definitely had to get out of his comfort zone to even contend with Will Ospreay. Overall, it was still a fantastic match. Lots of flippy shit. I love it. Now, my only thing is this. I just wish that Orange Cassidy would just completely come out of that character. If he would stop being, the slow-mo, lazy character gimmick and literally just go full speed, we'd still love him. We'd still think he's incredible. We think he'd be even more incredible. But he's just got to break this gimmick. Overall, still an awesome A-plus match. But, yeah, come on, Cassidy. Do better.
Okay, so, I totally do agree with the whole Orange Cassidy thing. I have the opinion that if Orange Cassidy have to be like this gimmick character, at least like maybe on a jobber match you could do the Orange Cassidy gimmick, But when it's pay-per-view and when it's a very like serious match like this one, I think that's the time when Orange Cassidy just has to snap out of character and just go all out, because he could have actually won this match, I think, in certain aspects, if he would just get out of that, character for a while, like it also gets a little old after a while. Like I don't understand. I mean, people are still gonna love him. He's still a favorite on the AEW roster, so I don't see him, improving himself a little bit more would hurt him in the least. Now, I have to say, Will Ospreay, I mean, this is the first time I've seen him, and holy smokes, he's one hell of a wrestler. I tell you, he's very powerful. He's very athletic. He has like that cocky attitude that like the whole time he's like, oh, why am I playing versus Orange Cassidy? Like you can tell that he's a wrestler of high caliber. That he's thinking, why am I wrestling somebody Cassidy of all people? Which I agree, because I still, as much as this match was still very entertaining, and there was a lot of good like flippy shit and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was a very good entertaining match. Don't get me wrong, but a part of me was still thinking, why did they thought it was a good idea to have Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy? Like, why couldn't he have fought a better opponent? Really get the, I don't know. I just don't see it like, or at least not on a pay-per-view. Like, I don't see the appeal of being a pay-per-view. But overall, this was still a very good match, and Will Ospreay, won. He shows what he's all about, and basically, Orange Cassidy was a bit of a lackluster here. I think he could have done a lot better.
If anything, I think it would have probably been a better match if they would have put Will Ospreay against Pac.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Will Ospreay's the kind of wrestler that he has to fight the powerhouse. He cannot waste time with Cassidy. No offense. A lot of people like Orange Cassidy. Also like him too. He's a favorite. But it's just like, for this match, I think they should have did a better book.
Yeah, if you really want to see some really good showcasing matches with Will Ospreay, go on YouTube and check out some of the New Japan matches between him and Ricochet.
Wrestler, so I would be really hopefully they'll book him for another pay-per-view.
Next is the biggest shocker of the night: Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy for the IWGP United States Championship. Now, I've made no qualms that I hate this idea of Will Ospreay and Cassidy fighting each other, because it degrades Will Ospreay as a competitor, and to have him against basically a joke wrestler. But I can admit when I'm wrong and say that Orange Cassidy beyond stepped it up. He had the best match of his entire career here. And I believe that has more to do with Ospreay than it does to do with his skill set. I think this elevated Orange Cassidy to a whole new level, but Ospreay is still just a superior wrestler, and it just was a great back and forth between them, and I was excited to see what they were going to do with the whole match, and I was pleasantly surprised with a lot of stuff, but I am happy they didn't give the belt to Orange Cassidy, because that's not right to give him the belt, and Ospreay is still the IWGP United States Champion, even though Juice Robinson is still holding that title.
So after the match happened, they weren't done yet, even because, Ospreay's still a heel. So instead of just taking the win and leaving, he actually has his guys, Fletcher and Davis, come in to start attacking Cassidy. Then all of a sudden, Rocky Romero and Trent Beretta come in to help Cassidy, but they're all clear from the ring. And suddenly, Katsuyori Shibata comes in and has a big face-off with, with the Ospreay and everything. So everyone kind of backed off because they didn't want none of that and everything. And Cassidy walks towards him and actually is going to put his own shades on like he usually does, but instead he puts the shades onto Shibata and does a little pose and leaves. And Shibata just kind of chills there around the ring for a bit with the shades, and that's kind of cool. Now, the only thing I'm kind of curious though is I'm kind of confused, because since this is so AEW, and obviously Ospreay's not signed. He's like a cameo with the whole crossover with the New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I guess they're more hinting for a Shibata versus Ospreay match in New Japan Pro Wrestling later on. Like, not so much promoting a future AEW match, but a match for them, is what it sounds like.
Perhaps, which could ring into a maybe possible Forbidden Door 2.
Yeah, but wow, it's going to be like a whole other year to wait, though.
Very true, but then again, look at what you have as far as, like, roster on both ends. I mean, everybody and their grandma, even though, Jack Knives may rip me for this, everybody wants to see another Okada versus Omega. They want to see the Young Bucks get their butts handed to them by the Bullet Club and kicked out of it. And they also want to see, that match between Ospreay and that guy, plus, maybe Orange Cassidy ditching the gimmick. So, yeah, it would be a shoo-in for there to be a Forbidden Door 2. Would it be worth waiting a year for? I think so.
Now, another thing also, yes, everyone obviously went for Ospreay, so everyone gets a point. But again, Jack is still 1 point behind because that one that he didn't get right. So wow, it's looking pretty even, guys. We haven't had a lot of I guess, I don't know. We haven't had a lot of matches where we're just scratching our heads like, damn, who's going to win this one? A lot of them kind of look like obvious picks, you know what I mean? But we'll see what happens at the end. So then we have Saber Jr., who was originally going to go up against Bryan Danielson. That's what he's called here, right? And, of course, he got injured, so he made like the big thing about, my hand-picked opponent. And, of course, we were all throwing out ideas here and there. And we got to give it to Jack Knives. He actually got it right. He was predicting either Cesaro or Gresham, but it was actually Cesaro. It was the original indie name, Claudio Castagnoli. So, yeah, that got one hell of a fucking pop. And I gotta say, this is also the first time I've ever seen him without all the tape, because I'm always used to seeing with a taped up arm and stuff that he's had like almost for years, it felt like, in WWE. But here he is. For this match, I don't remember terribly too much in terms of what Zack Sabre Jr. did, which of course is, he's the big guy. I know he's also a very popular guy, but I was mostly remembering most of Claudio's, the European uppercuts he does, of course grabbing the opponent and spinning and stuff. I didn't know he was trying to do the sharpshooter, which I've seen him do it before, but in this case, Zack Sabre Jr. actually countered that. He got him in a heel hook kind of submission move and everything. But yeah, I believe near the end of the match, Castagnoli grabbed him with what he calls the Ricola bomb and won the match that way. But the most I remember are all the uppercuts and all the spinning, which gets very insane, like just how many times you can spin the opponent without getting dizzy or whatever. I believe, what's his name? The guy who likes the big men.
Vince wasn't there.
No, not the other guy that likes people getting thrown around by big men. Oh, William Regal. How can I forget? My God, brain fart. Absolute brain fart. But yeah, so William Regal was there when he walked down. He walked down the entranceway or whatever with Claudio introducing him and all that. But I really wish he got into commentary because I forgot, maybe he did, but if he did, he didn't do the line. I really want to hear him like, oh yeah, look at that, look at Zack Sabre Jr. getting thrown around by big men. It would have just made me laugh like hell if he did that. But yeah, it was a pretty good match there. What do you guys think?
Hell yes. The return of the Swedish Cyborg, I freaking loved it. Like, when he came out, I about lost my shit. Like, I couldn't believe it. I'm still in shock over it. But yeah, actually seeing him come out there and then just, hitting the big swing, that was freaking amazing. I can't wait to see what they do with him in the future. I mean, Zack Sabre just pretty much could have just laid down and just called it a day. But it was still an amazing match. I loved it. I'm glad to see him back. Definitely a good match.
Yeah, this was a very interesting and very impactful match. It's very cool to see Claudio. I guess now he's the AEW, and it's just like it's just such a special moment. I think at the entire pay-per-view, like just to see a wrestler of the caliber of quote unquote Cesaro, Claudio Castagnoli. I hope I said his name right. I don't know, man. It's just pretty awesome. And he's very powerful. He's also charismatic in his own way, and just seeing him spin wrestler around like that, that's pretty like crazy, and the way he kept doing that. So hopefully AEW will be smart about this, and they will actually book him up for more matches, because he really does have the potential to be the next big thing here for in terms of the AEW. I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, it could be, but on the other side, Ricky Rocks did mention a good point that hopefully it's not another line in the, Tony Khan toy collection where it's kind of like, here's Cesaro, oh my god, here's a big pop, and then like 2 weeks later, now he's stuck on Dark.
I really hope not, because he really is a good wrestler. I'm not too surprised either if AEW also goes that route, but I just really hope they do better in this aspect.
Yeah, Cesaro's too big of a name to be left in the dark.
Oh, God. Yeah. So, he doesn't also want to get stuck in elevators in the dark either.
Next, the Saber Jr. match that was supposed to happen with Bryan Danielson, but we got to see the newest signee and newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club, hand-chosen by Bryan Danielson, Claudio Castagnoli, a.k.a. Cesaro. And this was a great match. Saber Jr., of course, one of the greatest technical wrestlers. I argue the greatest technical wrestler on the planet right now. Versus a man who is like the perfect adaptable wrestler. He has always been that guy who you could put him in any match against pretty much anyone and he could have a good match. He's just adaptable. He's not necessarily a submission style wrestler. He's not a hard-hitting style wrestler, but he is an interchangeable wrestler, and that's what makes him so damn good. Now, I'm hoping this isn't just, make him second to Moxley or whatever, because that's a waste of his talents. Don't make him the next Jake Hager, is my point. I don't want to see that, and no one else wants to see that either.
Anyways, all of us got a point. We kind of agreed in the last episode that since, we had no way of knowing who the opponent was or whatever, so, free point for everyone. So, unfortunately for Jack, that still means they still 1 point behind all of us. But, there we go. So, next big match we got here is for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship 4-way match with Hangman Adam Page, Kazuchika Okada, Adam Cole, baby, and the current champion, Jay White, the Switchblade. And, so it's a pretty good match. A lot of good back and forth here. Of course, Adam Page would always target Cole because he both got a little beef from the last match and stuff. Okada would go up against White because I believe Okada was the champ before he lost it to White. So lots of back and forth here and there. I don't particularly remember too many spots. I do remember the Hangman actually got to nail the Deadeye, because there's a lot of times where we haven't seen the Deadeye. He doesn't really do it that often in his matches as you would think. So to see him actually perform it without being stopped and stuff was always kind of cool there. I believe Page was going to do the Blade Runner on him, but that's when he got caught and he did the Deadeye on him. And Page also did the Buckshot Lariat on White, which is pretty cool. And he was going to pin him and everything, but Okada stopped it. And, we had the usual super kick party on Page because, Cole is also part of that whole group and everything. And, near the end, I believe, I think Jay White actually did a Blade Runner on Okada. And since Cole was like the nearest guy that was already pretty much flattened from before, he just pinned him. So I think that's going to cause some kind of friction later on that he did pin his quote-unquote buddy to win the match and retain the title. So I'm kind of curious about, their next interaction later on after this. But yeah, it's a pretty good match. I just don't remember too much of the details, but it was still pretty cool.
I do remember parts of that match. All I know is Okada probably ended up blowing the roof off of that stadium when he came in. That was probably the biggest pop I've heard for a wrestler in a long time. Now, as far as the match went, yeah, you could tell this is going to be something that they're going to be boosting into a part 2. Just because of the simple fact that of what happened between Cole and White. But yeah, it's definitely one for the books. Definitely an A+ match.
Yeah, I think it's a very good match, and it's also like very interesting to see the arena match. How I would say the two Adams, they kind of clash. Like they have their little rivalry thing going on. So it's always interesting to kind of see how that kind of gets the way during an important match like this one. I don't really have anything else really much to say, but Jay White is a pretty awesome wrestler. That's what I can say.
Next was the match of the night, in my opinion. I might be a little biased, but the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship first time defense in a fatal 4-way match. The champion, Switchblade Jay White, Hangman Adam Page, the Rainmaker Kazuchika Okada, and Adam Cole. Now, each of these guys, it elevated them to a whole new level as far as Page and Cole. Because whether you're a fan of Cole, whether you're a fan of Page, you have to admit that the caliber of wrestler that Jay White and Okada are, they are not even a fragment close to their level as far as talent, ability, skills, and just overall endurance. Jay White and Okada are just machines. Like, they just don't stop. And this proved that in this match, with Jay pinning over Adam Cole, possibly creating and hopefully creating a dissension between the Undisputed Elite and the Bullet Club. And I hope they actually benefit from that and pay off with that. That's my hope. But, I guess we'll see from there. And of course, still proving he is the catalyst of pro wrestling, proving he is the king of pro wrestling, the Switchblade retains and now has permanent bragging rights, saying that he not only beat Okada 5 times, but not only has he beaten Okada 6 times, but he beat Okada and Hangman and Cole in the same night. He will always have that as a permanent thing on his level, so anyone who says Kenny Omega's better, they're full of it. And he proved it tonight.
I believe all of us went for Switchblade keeping his title. Let me just double check real quick here. Yeah, all of us went for Jay White. Like I said, honestly, I didn't know much of the history like how Jack Knives does. He knows that Okada was a champ. He lost it to White. And, in my opinion, if Okada was not the former champion, I would have put it on him. But since he just lost it to Jay White, I was kind of like, yeah, they're probably not going to do the whole back and forth thing. The hot potato with the belts and everything. So, yeah, all of us got a point for that one. And once again, the story goes that Jack is 1 point behind. Oh, no. So now we got the big one. We got the main event. Okay, so the main event here, we got Jon Moxley. And the funny part is that the American announcer, like always, does the exaggerate Jon Moxley, whatever. I'm not going to do the whole thing. One of you guys can do it, but I'm not going to do it. The Japanese commentator or announcer also did the Jon Moxley thing because, throughout the whole show, there's also been Japanese commentary. So every time someone comes up, there's a Japanese guy also announcing the names, which is pretty awesome to hear him Lance Archer and all that kind of stuff. So when they did that, the commentary is like, okay, now you say. No, I'm not going to say that. That was kind of funny. During the match, Moxley got busted open. I believe he was thrown through the ropes or off the rope or something, and he got hit by the barricade, and that's when he got busted open. And real bad, too. Blood was all over his entire face. I know there was a part where, because they got the whole thing where Tanahashi's known as the Ace, and Moxley's like, I'm the Ace and all that. So there was a part where Tanahashi was injured, on his knees and stuff, and Moxley's in his face like, I'm the Ace, until the guy would hit him back and stuff like that. And the most I remember was the finish, because it was kind of dramatic and kind of drawn out. Moxley actually grabbed him in a submission hold, and it lasted a good maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes of struggling to the point where Tanahashi just flat out looked unconscious and everything. But rather than lose the match that way, he picked him up and hit him with the Death Rider, which is perfect because the dude's like half dead anyway, so no way he can kick out of that. So Moxley won the match. But of course, there wasn't any animosity or anything, so they shook hands and all that good stuff. But then after that, Jericho showed up with Daniel Garcia because, hey, we got to promote Blood and Guts. I remember Jack Knives was not too happy about that ending. But yeah, Jericho and Daniel Garcia came in and attacked Moxley and Tanahashi. Of course, they were in no condition to fight after that big banger of the match they just had. Eddie Kingston came in, went after Jericho. Garcia got him. Wheeler Yuta and Santana and Ortiz came out and started fighting against Jericho and Garcia and stuff. And then Jake Hager, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, Sammy Guevara all came out. The entire Jericho Appreciation Society was there attacking them and doing stuff like that. I don't know what the fuck that bright yellow thing that Jake Hager was wearing though. And then of course, Castagnoli, as a new guy, now shows up and started going after Jericho and stuff and beats them back and everything. So basically, like, the whole thing ends with the Blackpool Combat Club celebrating because, yes, Claudio Castagnoli is also an official member now of the Blackpool Combat Club and stuff like that. And even though I don't think we saw it in the actual event, there was an Instagram or some social media picture that they posted where both Moxley and Tanahashi respectfully bowed for each other, like kind of like on the floor of the ring or something. And he actually said something to the effect of, if there's a Forbidden Door Part 2, I don't know if I'm going to be there because nothing can top this. This has been like the best match of my entire career.
Yeah, dude, like it was pretty good. That ending was kind of shit where everybody just kind of showed up and started beating the crap out of each other. Like, for this big of a pay-per-view, you know, why would you end it like that? Like, I get it, it's supposed to lead up to Forbidden Door 2, but
well, for Blood and Guts mostly.
Well, Blood and Guts mainly. But yeah, you could have just kind of, you know, left that out, saved it for another time. You know, we still know there's a feud running between, you know, Kingston's crew and Jericho's crew. Like, that could have just literally waited until Blood and Guts. Like, we didn't have to point it out. It was, you know, kind of like what everybody was saying, where it's like, oh, we have the Forbidden Door and we have Blood and Guts this weekend. You know, like, it kind of overshadowed the whole entire, you know, Forbidden Door concept. But overall, the actual match was the shiznit. I loved it. Had a damn good time watching it. Can't wait to see it, part 2.
And to top it off, Blood and Guts isn't even a pay-per-view. It's an episode of Dynamite. Like, I know it's all stylized, like a mini pay-per-view or whatever, but it's an episode of Dynamite. Like, it's like the Forbidden Door and Blood and Guts, yeah! But it's like, it's not even a pay-per-view, you know what I mean? Like it would make sense if it was like the pay-per-view coming up next month or something, but no, you know?
Yeah, they're treating it like it's the Money in the Bank that happened tonight.
Wait, what now?
Yeah, they're treating it like it's the Money in the Bank tournament, which actually happened tonight on SmackDown.
Interesting. So instead of like a pay-per-view, they just did it on SmackDown instead, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I thought the match was really good, and you know, both of these wrestlers are very talented, you know, very awesome wrestlers. But yeah, I did thought that ending was kind of like a bit of a lackluster, and it kind of ruined a little bit the pay-per-view, because I think if the pay-per-view ended well, because you know it's supposed to be the part where Jon Moxley's supposed to shake hands with Hiroshi Tanahashi, but you know, just to show their good sportsmanship that they earned this, you know, fight, you know, fair and square. And I don't know, that ending was kind of like a little over the place, and it kind of tarnished just a little bit the pay-per-view in my opinion.
And finally, the main event, the interim AEW World Championship, Jon Moxley versus Hiroshi Tanahashi. I will flat out say this, and just like Cassidy, I've made zero qualms of the fact that I personally, on a personal level, cannot stand Jon Moxley. I hate him on a personal level. I despise him on a personal level. I think he's an irritating ass. I don't think he's really that good a wrestler. And honestly, I think his character is overdone and kind of just a mix of Goldberg meets Stone Cold, which is so lazy and overdone. However, with all of that being said, this was by far his greatest match in his career, period. This is the greatest match he will ever have, in my opinion. Ace brought everything out of him. It wasn't just a hit fest. It wasn't a hardcore match. Ace forced Moxley to wrestle, which is one of my biggest issues I have with Moxley, is he doesn't really pay attention to the fundamentals of wrestling. He focuses more on the hard-hitting, hardcore, trash wrestling. But here, Ace forced him. He forced him to pull out everything, and he well deserved the victory here. But, and this is a big booty, and this is a big old booty, one of the biggest, stupidest, idiotic booking decisions was to not even after the match ends, all of a sudden have Jericho, all these people, all these jackasses fist fighting each other while they're all bloodied and barely able to stand in the ring. You idiots. This was a historic match. A historic moment. The ending of two of the biggest companies in wrestling fighting it out, and it should have ended in a beautiful ending ceremony of mutual respect, and you just couldn't help yourselves, could you? You had to promote blood and guts. I don't give a shit about blood and guts. I don't give a shit about Jericho's group. I don't give a shit about the Blackpool, whatever the fuck. I give a shit about respect begetting respect. You didn't even let Moxley and Tanahashi thank each other. But after the show went off the air, after it went off the air and then the Jericho crew or whatever left and then the Blackpool left, Moxley literally on his hands and knees bowed to Tanahashi, and Tanahashi did the same. That's how the show should have ended. But no. Well, with the exception of the ending, overall, I think it was a fantastic show, and I think that it should not be a one and done. This is too good a show to be a one and done. I would argue this is AEW's best show they've ever put on, because of the fact that not a single match, with the exception of one of the pre-show matches, not a single match was bad. Which I can't say that for any other AEW show. Not a single match was bad. And that shows the detriment that AEW can have with New Japan, of partnership that is, honestly, it's a no-brainer to have them in a relationship with them. But hopefully Tony Khan is smart enough to see what having a relationship with New Japan can bring, not only to the wrestling world, but to AEW's talent, to their possibilities of a partnership, and to their possibilities of, branching relationships and branching talent rosters between them. But I guess only time will tell.
So to follow up on that real quick, on Blood and Guts, it was like, oh my god, the entire second half of the show was Blood and Guts. Like, holy crap, because, Dynamite, for those who don't know, is a 2-hour show, and the second hour was just that. Like, holy shit, I was surprised, because I missed the first half due to work and everything, so I finally got the TV turned on and blah, 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 and it's like, the second hour, it's like, no, your main event. I'm like, wait, what, huh? Like, wow. So, yeah, so they had these two wrestling rings, like, connected, side by side, with a super giant-ass steel cage that can go over both of them, and I believe it was, I didn't get quite the rules, because I still got, near the beginning when they were setting up. But I guess, you go in, and every couple of minutes, another guy goes in until eventually everyone's in the ring, or in the cage, I should say. And it was, Sammy Guevara, and Ty Conti was there loitering, and we had, basically the entire Jericho Appreciation Society, I think. But we also had Claudio there, which is why I didn't want to mention it too early, because I didn't want to spoil his appearance. But yeah, Wheeler Utah was there, Claudio was there, and Moxley was there. Moxley was basically stabbing the fuck out of people's foreheads with a fork. One of the Jericho Society guys got just stabbed in the fork. He grabbed a handful of spikes and just spiked them on his head, so they're sticking out of his head and stuff. I'm like, what the fuck? It got crazy. They started playing around with broken glass. They started playing around with the thumbtacks and doing, submission moves and stuff on top of the thumbtacks. I think they grabbed Jericho in his own walls of Jericho while on the thumbtacks, so that's insane. And there was the part where Eddie Kingston was the last one from his team in, so when he got in, he grabbed a kendo stick, and it was just funny because it was almost like a scene out of an anime or a cartoon, because the guy is just walking, just basically homing in on Jericho, and as he's walking, Garcia comes, bop with the kendo stick, he's out. The other guy comes, bop, kendo stick, he's out. And he's not even paying attention. He's just bopping them back and forth to get everyone out of his way until he gets to Jericho and bops the fuck out of him with the kendo stick. So that was a pretty intense match. Near the end, they both climbed the top of the steel cage, because of course they do. And this pay-per-view kind of ended establishing that Eddie Kingston does not like Claudio. So they were on top. I believe it was Jericho and Sammy against Kingston and Claudio. Not exactly in that order, but eventually all four of them were up there. And what happened was, I don't know the exact submission holds, but Claudio had Jericho in a submission hold Claudio had Sammy, he had someone else in a submission hold, while Kingston had Jericho in a submission hold. Yeah, that was the thing. So Claudio had Sammy in the hold, while Kingston had Jericho in the hold. And the thing is that it looked like real close. Like there was no way out, no place to escape. It looked like Jericho was going to tap. But moments before he tapped, Sammy tapped first. So Claudio won the match. But, he won the match for his team. But Eddie Kingston is still kind of pissed because, fuck, man, that was my win. Like I almost got Jericho to tap. What the fuck, And eventually the entire, Blackpool Combat Club got on top of the cage, and they all, did their victory thing, and they're trying to kind of, Moxley was trying to calm things down between Kingston and Claudio and stuff, but Kingston kind of sucked it up. You can still tell he was still pissed. It's like, yeah, my team won, but it was supposed to be my win, damn it, So that was one hell of a match. Too bad that it was on TV, because the commercials and the picture-in-picture and, get yourself a Snickers bar or whatever. But it's like, that would have been a pay-per-view match right there. Holy shit, you know what I mean? And the only other thing that happened since then is that this was not addressed in the pay-per-view, because of course it was a crossover. It wasn't a full-on AEW pay-per-view. But that big match they had in one of the episodes where the Young Bucks actually defeated Jurassic Express. Yeah, that was actually the match where the Hardy Boys were going to be in, but the Hardy Boys were excluded thanks to Jeff Hardy, with the DUI and everything. So instead of Young Bucks versus the Hardys versus Jurassic Express, it's just Young Bucks versus Jurassic Express. And in the end, the Young Bucks won, which is why they're the tag team champs now. And surprisingly, Christian Cage just got pissed the fuck off and beat the living shit out of Jungle Boy. So this episode of Dynamite actually opened with a new black mask wearing heel Luchasaurus with Christian Cage rooting him on and everything. So now they're both heels, and everyone popped. Everyone loved heel Luchasaurus. I believe that's a whole new theme too and everything. So that's something to look forward to. Hopefully they'll do some kind of something with them in the next pay-per-view coming up. Whenever they got the next, I believe it's All Out coming up, so that'll be something to look forward to. So
I guess with the Hardy Boys gone, it would be considered a strange twist of fate. Anybody?
Wait, so Luchasaurus is no longer with Jungle Boy?
No, not anymore. That's the thing, though. He came out by himself with Christian Cage. There's no sign of Jungle Boy, so I'm assuming the next time we see Jungle Boy, he's going to be alone now, by himself. So, but of course, people have been wanting them to split up, for a while now. They want Jungle Boy to, forge his own path. So this could be his chance to have a good singles run, hopefully. But obviously, the first couple of matches are going to have to be against Christian and against Luchasaurus. And that's going to suck like hell. Because, for him, character-wise, and kayfabe. Because with Christian, yeah, he's kind of there. But Luchasaurus, that's your boy. That's your boy since day one AEW. And, to go against him, I hope they really gotta hype it up, man. They gotta build the story. They gotta do the promos. They gotta do the whatever. They gotta build it up, because that's gonna be maybe not the biggest match in terms of the two biggest stars, but still Jungle Boy versus heel Luchasaurus. That's a big story right there if they do that. If they do it right with all the build up and everything, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that would definitely be the story of Jungle Boy becoming a Jungle Man if he was able to beat Luchasaurus. But yeah, that's definitely a story they need to hype up. And yeah, for a long time, a lot of people have been saying, hey, Jungle Boy's good in tag, but, he needs to come in on his own. And the same thing's been going on with Luchasaurus. So yeah, this split's kind of needed. I hope it's temporary. I hope they're able to, squash the feud and maybe get it back together. But yeah, this will be a damn good feud. Oh, and Mark, you forgot one important spot on the Blood and Guts tournament.
What?
And that was Eddie Kingston throwing Sammy Guevara off the top of the cage.
Oh, right. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, so he was grabbing someone else then, so he wasn't making Sammy tap, because I knew it wasn't Sammy. It was one of the other JAS guys. But you're right, when he did that, I was like, holy shit! Damn, dude. They just killed a man on live TV. So basically, everyone went for Hiroshi instead of John Moxley, so none of us got a point. So in the end, it looks like all of us won except for Jack Knives. All of us got 7 points each, while Jack Knives only got 6 points. So yeah, that's a big one. And I promise, guys, a lot of our shows are never like this multi-sided or whatever, because I can't really say one-sided, but you know what I mean? Like, usually it's a bigger mix. Usually the matches are, I guess, a bit more crazy where we don't know how to predict. But yeah, this one, literally all of us won except for Jack Knives.
To be so ticked when he hears about this.
Oh God, we're gonna have to buy him another Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero shirt. So yeah, one last news that Johnny brought to my attention, which I guess has been all over the interwebs today, is that apparently, just to kind of wrap up the episode here, Logan Paul is officially signed with WWE instead of just being like a cameo guest star or whatever. I got no thoughts. I mean, he kind of a lot of controversial weird shit on YouTube, but I mean, I guess good for him in that way, because he can actually, I mean, he had a couple of like celebrity boxing matches, and now he's actually wrestling for better or for worse. I mean, we can't deny the fact that WWE is still like the top dog in terms of wrestling, at least in the terms of name recognition. So yeah, but weird, I just, when I see him with his outfit on, I'm kind of like, okay, so they couldn't get Kenny Omega, so they thought that let's just dress up Logan Paul like him. Next best thing. Fans will never notice the difference.
Yeah, they signed Logan Paul, and not to be technical, I'm not going to go as far as Jack Knives or Ricky Rock saying anything about this. I'm just going to keep it straight, blunt, and simple. Nobody freaking cares. Like, nobody, like, I'm just hearing the bottom of the barrel being scraped. I mean, we got lucky for a minute there. I thought they were bringing back John Cena. Wait, never mind. But yeah, like, this is just, they're just grasping for straws at this point.
Yeah, my opinion, like, WWE, I don't know, it's been kind of going downhill for a while.
For a long while.
And it's just, this guy's very controversial. And I don't know, I get the feeling that they probably put him there just for rating boostings, because, people are still going to watch it anyways. Because, controversy always sells.
Yeah, they're pretty much running out of road here.
It's a desperate move, though, for WWE, even for WWE standards. This just looks too desperate.
I'm sorry, did you say WWE had standards? That's hilarious.
Well, you know what I mean. Even as a low tire wrestling company as WWE, or at least the way it has been ran for quite some time, I think even they should have certain limits. And I don't know if Logan Paul being in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of their last hurrah. They're kind of grabbing for straws right now to figure out what the hell to do ever since, Roman Reigns pretty much went on vacation. They've had multiple injuries. And you've got wrestlers that are to the point now that they're just like, screw it, and walking out.
Yeah, it's crazy. The last thing to say, they had a little press conference live on YouTube after the Forbidden Door was over. And the most that got out of it, because, questions here and there and stuff. They're talking, I think they interviewed FTR guys and stuff like that. But the big thing with Tony Khan is that he's not 100% sure, like, to promise Forbidden Door 2, but he did say that they are going to do the Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view next month. So that's something to look forward to. That's pretty awesome. But of course, when he was asked about MJF, it's like, yeah, we're not going to comment about that. We just had a good pay-per-view. Let's move on. Next question.
Yeah, I'm starting to think this is no longer a work. This might actually be, the real deal. And he from the way he reacts, like you can tell from his, from his facial movements when he says, hey, let's move on from that comment. He's tired of MJF's shit. Like, he really is. And I think it's about high time they just, plug him up, shoot him out of a cannon, and blacklist his ass. Just call it a day.
Yeah. And hey, I mean, if MJF, if his stock drops and he doesn't make it to WWE, he can always learn to control his narrative.
Or he can land an Impact.
Oh, man. Oh, God. So we can all say, oh, my God, what is MJF doing in the Impact Zone? Oh, man. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode here. Yeah, pretty interesting show. Very awesome. I think the general consensus is that this is like one of the best AEW pay-per-views ever, which of course is, AEW / New Japan Pro Wrestling. I don't know how it'll rate compared to other New Japan Pro Wrestling pay-per-views, but at least in terms of AEW, it's fucking awesome, fucking amazing. We do have the upcoming Death Before Dishonor coming out next month. Luckily, the Ring of Honor pay-per-views do not cost $50. They cost like $30. So we'll see how that goes. I'll see if I can get like a discount off of Fight TV or something. But yeah, guys, slow it down, okay? Slow it down, because these pay-per-views are costing $50 a month and stuff. We've just had Double or Nothing, and now we had the Forbidden Door. Now Death Before Dishonor, and then of course due to these pay-per-views, All Out's going to be just around the corner too, so either cut the prices down a bit or spread them out some, because this is like give a guy, especially in this economy and the ever rising gas prices, like give us a break, yo.
Yeah, as much as we like talking about the fighting, we don't want to get punched in the wallet, guys. Come on.
Yeah, that really is hitting below the belt.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I think they need I don't know. I still felt like the previous pay-per-view was still pretty recent.
Yeah, I know.
It just feels too like.
Yeah, it was like almost 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and that's what people were saying when they first announced the Forbidden Door. People were saying, wait, it's only going to be about a couple of weeks after Double or Nothing. Like, dude, and you're going to charge $50 for that one too? Like what the fuck, But what we were not counting on is Death Before Dishonor right the next month, another 3 weeks later,
What I really wish they would do is like, hey, if they're gonna bring out all these pay-per-views, maybe they should do like the AEW fan club kind of thing. That if you join their club, you get like a small discount for paying that much money to watch all those pay-per-views.
Or at least do like New Japan and WWE did, where they have like an actual channel, kind of like almost kind of like, a Disney Plus or a Paramount Network, where you just pay one thing per month, and then you can watch like all the older matches, all the dark matches, and the pay-per-views are included.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that AEW needs to do.
Yeah, because AEW's been around like for 3 years now. They didn't have enough stuff. I mean, back then they didn't have enough, but if you factor in now all the episodes of Dynamite and Rampage, and then sometimes you get these random extra episodes of Rampage and things like that. If you put all the episodes on there, and then the pay-per-views, since day one, since the first Double or Nothing, I mean, you got enough content there to kind of make it worth your while.
Not to mention all the money they saved now that Cody Rhodes gone. Oops, that's it.
Yep, all the money spent on all the fucking pyro. So you can imagine when they go down to like Phantom Fireworks and they're buying like boxes upon boxes upon boxes of stuff, like Tony Khan signing, they're like, oh shit, Cody Rhodes must be coming back.
Yeah, I know, right? The guy at Phantom Fireworks is probably in the supply room having a heart attack.
Oh, God. Or like the opposite, it's kind of, you remember that Simpsons episode where Homer was on a diet and the donuts were overflowing, in the donut shop or whatever? It's kind of like, hey, why is there so many fireworks? Oh, didn't you hear Cody left and went to WWE? Holy shit, and I just ordered a boatload!
Yeah, right. They're just literally just going to, like, drive the entire, like, surplus truck of fireworks to the arena, park it right backstage, and then just light a fuse and run away.
Yep. Oh my god. So anyway, guys, Dini wraps up this episode of the Diving Cutter podcast. Again, we want to say hi, special shout out to the fans listening in Spotify and Samsung and Amazon Music and all the other things. Because I think we were actually signed up with RSS.com, and it actually got a cool feature where you can, it just adds you to all these different programs. So it's pretty cool. Because you know, not everyone has Spotify. Maybe you got Amazon Music. Well, bam, there you go. If you got trouble sleeping, you can turn on the Diving Cutter podcast. You'll be out in 10 minutes. But other than that, we're also going to be hosting our podcast whenever we do our fighting game podcast. We're going to, we'll give it a week or so. We'll see if Ricky Rocks can join us. We do plan to talk about Mortal Kombat in the next episode. So we'll see about that. We just don't want to, I don't want to get everyone all podcasted out. Like, holy fuck. Like Mark wants another podcast. Turn off my phone and shit. You know what I mean? We don't want to get too crazy with that. But most definitely, whenever we get to Death Before Dishonor, we are going to do our episode that will give our predictions, then a review towards that. So we can't really promise the podcast being, every week or every other week or whatever, but most often than not, whenever there's a AEW / Ring of Honor, and who knows, whenever Women of Wrestling starts up, whenever we got these pay-per-views coming out, then you'll know that, hey, the podcast is coming back, and things like that. So, any parting words, guys?
I got nothing except for, hey, we're a legit podcast now. Let's go ahead and do this thing. Ricky Rocks, I know you hear me, buddy. If you're listening, get your butt back here. We need you, man. Come on.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Well, I personally think this is one of the best pay-per-views, period. I mean, of course, I don't know how it is with the Japan Pro Wrestling side of the aisle, but at least in terms of AEW, this really was one of the best pay-per-views they've had for, I would say, pretty recent, right? Because, the previous pay-per-view, but you get what I mean. It's very good, and, I really hope that they will do a part 2 of this pay-per-view, because I do think that this is very good. It's also good for marketing purposes, because now more people know the Japan Pro Wrestling stars a little bit better. So I do definitely think that they should do this more often. And yeah, it would have been cool if they would actually do little cameos. Like, they don't necessarily have to fight, but at least do little promos just to kind of make people have a little taste of the Japan Pro Wrestling wrestlers, so that if they do make another pay-per-view part 2 of this, people will kind of know a little bit more. But yeah, I do think it's an awesome event. It's a good crossover. I'm looking forward to more of this happening if they decide to, if this pay-per-view actually had good success for them to actually make a part 2, a continuation. That would.
So we'll see you then, guys. This is Mark Rodriguez here, signing out for now.
NinjaPanda 1980.
And this is Johnny Rodriguez.
This has been Jack from Jack Knives Reviews, signing out.